Welcome to the show. My name is JR, and this is Daddy Discussions with the Three J's. Of course, I couldn't do it without the other two-thirds of the Three J's, and that is Jeff and Josh. Guys, how are you?
What's going on, everybody?
Hey.
Well, we are having a special episode today because we're having our first guest on the show. We are here with chart-topping artists, and let me tell you, they're even better brothers in Christ. They are Boomtown Saints. Chris and Ben, how are you guys?
Doing excellent. Thanks for having us, guys. We really appreciate being your first guest. I didn't realize that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Hey, you guys are special, man. We couldn't do it without you.
Appreciate it.
Well, fellas, I'd love to for you guys to take a quick journey to how you guys met and also where did the name Boomtown Saints come from. So catch us up on that a little bit.
So how we met, actually, it's, how we met and how we became a band are kind of the same story. So I'll just tell you both of them. So we met at the gym. So his wife is a CrossFit trainer, and I ended up going to a CrossFit gym. And he was never there, but his wife was, and she was like, "Oh, my husband's in music." I wasn't in music at the time. I was still in the corporate world, and Ben was always on the road doing something. And one day he showed up, met him. We just got along. I mean, the thing about Ben and I is we're complete polar opposites.
As you can tell, head to toe, cowboy hat, camo, all this.
Yeah, we're just polar opposites. But what's crazy is it's always
work.
That's good. It's probably good because my toxic traits, if they were his, that would not be good. So yeah, it's kind of always worked. But we became buddies. We were buddies for about 6 months. I knew he was a musician, and one day it was in August 2018. He asked me, because he knew I was a musician in a former life. We had discussed it. It wasn't really something a topic of conversation for us. But he asked me one day, he said, "Man," excuse me. He said, "Man, can you help me find a bass player for a show?" And I was like,
guys, and I'm just going to go into this. When you ever hear him do that, that's his worst impression of my voice.
Everybody does it.
Everybody does it.
Now you're going to be like, "Ben said this."
My 13-year-old daughter just did it to me. Like, I was this days up. Really?
So
I get enough from him.
So he was like, "Man, I need to find a bass player for the show. It's in 2 weeks." And it was August, and so every musician in the city that's worth their salt is already booked. And I was like, "I'll help you find somebody. I know some people." I tried for a week and a half, couldn't find anybody. And on a Wednesday night, the show was Friday, he said to me,
"Hey man, can you just hold a stick up there and make it sound half decent? That's all I need."
And
I don't really need a bass player. I just need somebody to look like they're playing bass.
And so I obviously have been a musician. If you play guitar, you can typically play bass. So I was like, "Sure, I'll do it." And so I said, "All right, man, give me the set list. It's going to be an awesome 8 to 10 songs." 44 songs I had to learn in 2 days.
44. Wow.
44 is pretty awesome. But anyway, we went up there and played, and it went really well. We got booked to come back that night before we left, and it happened the next week, and then it happened the next week, and we were like, we should try something. So we ended up being, we had a lot of fun. That was the thing about our show is it's just we have a lot of fun, and we make sure everybody in the audience is having fun. And we were like, we need a name. And I had a flag football team named the Hopscotch Mafia. And so we were like, let's just go by the Hopscotch Mafia. Everybody remember it. And they did. Once we started getting involved with the label or labels in general, some of them hated it. Some of them absolutely loved it. And we were like, we should probably cut out the ones that hate it by changing our name. So a boomtown is defined as a town that sees sudden prosperity. So you think about oil towns, coal towns, and it's sudden prosperity. And that was kind of what happened to us. We did not expect this journey to happen. And all of a sudden, like when we really dug into it, I mean, we got involved with Grammy Award-winning producers and labels within just a few months. And we were like, people down on Broadway are trying to do this for 8-10 years. And it was just a few months. We were like, okay. So Boomtown, that's where that came into play. Another thing about us is, faith is forefront of everything we do, even when we're on stage, everything we do. And the first thing anybody knows about you or sees about you is your name. And we were like, how do we do something that at least gives a nod to faith? And the name Boomtown Saints sounded cool. Even though we're not saints, it still sounded cool. And it's a nod to faith. So
by any stretch of the matter.
There it is.
That's amazing how God works. Let me tell you, You learned 44 songs in 2 days. I don't even know how to play one, so that's amazing in itself.
Yeah, it was. I wasn't the happiest camper.
I used to play in a band,
No.
but back when I was
Yeah, Jeff played bass. You get it. Like it was like and you're the backbone too. So it wasn't one of those things that you could just be terrible. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Guys, I want to ask you, Chris, Ben, you guys are on the radio, and you guys are touring all over the place and really growing. I love asking this question when I meet musicians, when I'm fortunate enough to meet musicians. What was it like hearing your song on the radio for the very first time?
Oh wow. Well, I know we have both of our separate things, and we finally got a chance to hear it together for the first time. But I was with my wife. We had just gotten off the phone with our daughter. Like she was like, "What are y'all bringing home to eat?" I said, "I don't know." And clicked it off, and my wife was like, with the radio dial, and I went, "Wait, I know that song. That's our song." And so I couldn't speak really. I had a
What song? What song?
All Trucks Go to Heaven.
That one? Okay, awesome.
It was the first time I'd heard that, and she got a video of it. I told her not to post it. She did it.
She did. What are you gonna do?
I smile, but I don't look fixated like this, like I was when she took the video. So
that's amazing.
But Chris, what was yours, man?
I was leaving a restaurant. I got in the car. I was picking up food for my wife Jenna and I got in the car. I turned the car on, and I'm just pulling out, and it just did not really registering. I mean, you hear your song so much that this doesn't really register. And at one point, I was like, "Wait, my phone is not connected. That's on the radio." And I turned it up, and I immediately call him. And he doesn't answer.
I was asleep.
I call his wife. His wife's like, "He's asleep." I was like, "No!" So then I called Jenna, and I'm like, "Turn on your face!" Like it was I lost my mind. And it was actually a couple weeks after that we were filming something for the Country Network down in downtown Nashville, and we filmed this a TV show with them, and we're leaving. We're driving home, and we're talking, just jabbering away. And I just kind of glanced down to look at the time, and I see on the screen it says Boomtown Saints. I was like, "Are you turning it up?"
I'm not connected.
And so we actually heard it together for the first time here in Nashville on 94.7, the Country Giant plug. The first time we ever heard our song, each of us was on that radio station. So It was awesome. It was a crazy, surreal experience. A lot of work goes into it, more than I think either of us ever thought would go into it. You think that when you get to the point where you have a radio team behind you, and you have a record label behind you, that, all right, it's going to go now. The amount of work that goes into that point forward, that's when the work starts. And so to hear it was kind of
It was very surreal.
Yeah, it was just surreal. It was like a wow.
But going back to his point, it's like you start climbing the hill, and you're getting it right at the top of the crest of the hill, and then boom, there's a mountain you got to climb. Right.
You're like, "We made it," and they're like, "No, you didn't.
No,
You're far from made it." Yeah.
All right, so switching lanes a little bit here. We're the podcast about dads, right? So I know both of you are dads. Remind me, how many kids you guys got again?
You got 2 girls. I have 3. So we're
shout out to the girl dads.
Girl dad in this outfit. So.
Tell us what it's like traveling the country, and knowing that you have strength and family at home waiting on you guys to get back. What's that like?
It's absolutely amazing, because I know Chris feels this the same way I do. If we didn't have that at home, our lives we couldn't do it. We trust everything back at home. We're on the road. We have to know that things are going to be fine. And thank God for the beautiful women in our life that chose to do it with us.
It's amazing.
And make that sacrifice to keep us
going. And I'll tell you, they sacrifice a lot. I think we both, God blessed us both at the right time. There's no way in certain times of our life we were not ready for what we have now with our wives and with our families. And I'll tell you that, I mean, for my story, I mean, I met my wife a little over 3 years ago, and it was the right time for me. God knew it was the right time for me. And she has been for me exactly that, a godsend. I mean, it's amazing that the support they give us, And I'll give you an example. A few weeks ago, we were in the Pacific Northwest. We played 4 acoustic shows in the Pacific Northwest. We were playing some amazing theaters, and we were doing meet and greets. We were on the radio out there, and they were both at home, taking care of the family in the house. And we were texting back and calling back and FaceTiming. Look at this amazing sight! Oh my goodness, we just got this and all this stuff. And then after the fact, you're thinking, "Wow, well, okay." How would I be like if they were doing that? And I was like, nice. I got a 3-month-old at home, it's so I don't, they're special women. God put them in our lives, and having that here at home is the only way we're able to do it. Yeah. And we're actually excited to come home, which is awesome.
Yeah. Shout out to the wives that hold it down.
Right. Leah, Jenna.
It makes our lives as dads a whole lot easier when we have amazing wives at home. So here, get a little deeper here. Ben, I know you're a step parent, and Chris, I know Jenna's a stepmom to your older girls. How's that element been important to your family dynamic?
Well, I mean, I met my wife when I was 25 years old, and it took her
So last year?
last year for sure.
They've been married for 4 months.
That's it.
Nice.
No, I met her when I was 25, and I didn't know at first she had a daughter, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm not ready for that. I wasn't. I was still full on solo artist before I even met this. Years before I met Chris, and I was still going down that path. And she was very protective of Grayson, and it wasn't until 8 months we were dating that I finally got to meet him. Wow. But I'll tell you this, that changed my life forever, because when she moved up and we got married, being a dad, that was the craziest thing, because now I'm not only protecting myself but protecting my family as well. And I grew up pretty much. Yeah. As soon as that happened, I started growing up, taking on more responsibilities.
Yeah, and I'll say, speaking, I don't even know if I've ever told you this, but I genuinely feel that Ben was born to be a dad. Like, I genuinely believe that he was born to be a dad. If people who know Ben best, his heart and his intentions are some of the most pure that I've ever experienced. Wow. And so I can tell you that I can't imagine I didn't know him back then, but I cannot imagine probably the freaking joy that was all of a sudden entered your life, and the fulfillment. That's the word I'm looking for. The fulfillment that you had to experience when Grace entered your life.
It was also awesome because Grace was potty trained.
For me with Jenna, so she didn't meet when we met. She didn't meet and she'll tell everybody this, and you guys know her, and she'll be the first one to tell you this. When we met, it was months in, and she was like, "What if she didn't meet my at the time it was my youngest daughter. She didn't meet her for 7 months, and then she didn't meet my oldest daughter for 11, and that was more just my older daughter was teenager, and it was on her time. But there were 2 reasons for it. One was I wanted to make sure, for me first and for my girls, I knew really fast, but I just wanted to really make sure, because that's one of the biggest things you talk about ruining your children's lives. You bring the wrong person in. It only got stronger, the feeling that she was the right one. But the thing that made it kind of changed me to an extent was she knew going in. She said, "What if the girls don't like me?" And my answer was, that's it. Like, this isn't gonna work. Yeah. Sorry, I'm my dad. That's my job. Right. Above all else, my job is to be God's son and a dad. And but what's crazy is the day each of them met her. It's been, I could not possibly imagine a better person stepping into their lives and filling gaps that I didn't even know were gaps. God works in really crazy ways.
Yeah.
Just the fact how similar she is to my now my middle child, just in every aspect, is insane. It's God works in ways that I can't even. I've stopped trying to understand because we can't. But yeah, it shaped me in the sense that when I saw that, I understood a different type of love. Because as a dad, you guys get this. As a dad, when you have a child, there's a certain type of love. You're like, oh, this is what love is.
Yeah.
And you have love for your siblings. You have love for your friends and your parents. But then the love that a step parent steps in and has is totally different than anything we'll understand.
Yeah.
And it's so pure. And it expanded my mind even more on just what love can be.
That's amazing.
Nice.
Well, I was going to ask this next question, but man, I feel like y'all have already just blown me away. Sounds like incredible dads, traveling musicians. I mean, I've got a daughter, 2 sons, so a lot changes after having a family. What's the one thing that's changed from being a single guy to now running lead on a family too?
Everything.
is that one thing?
I mean, that's from being single and doing your own thing, and your responsibility is one, to having all of this responsibility. It's a lot. It's a lot on you. But I tell you what, my wife, and I've shared this with Chris many times, and he knows this. And it probably, if my wife hadn't entered my life, Grayson hadn't entered my life, I'd be dead. I mean, I was going down.
He would be.
I was going
100%.
down the wrong path of just long nights, drinking every single night to way excess, just not following what I needed to do. And the reason that and this goes back to faith, I was angry at God for 10 years, 10 years. I lost my dad when I was 19, and I could never get past that.
Yeah.
Could never get past that. My wife kept begging me to go back to church, going back and doing, and my life was not in great circumstances by any means. It was a lot of depression, a lot of everything. And finally she said, let's go back to church. Let's do this. And her belief in me and then my reaffirming faith has gotten me to that.
That's amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, follow that up, Chris.
Honestly, you want to know the absolute truth? Because listening to that, I completely forgot the question. So if you could ask it one more time.
I probably didn't even answer the question, but that led me
I
to
got
want to
so
spill
I got
that
so attached to that answer. I just
That was
completely. What was the question?
Yeah.
I completely.
From being a single guy to now having a family, what's the number one?
So for me, it was a little different because I this is my second marriage. Got married very young the first time, and so it was a little different of a journey. One thing I will tell you is the difference for me this time around is, especially if I was put into this life, or we're doing right now, traveling the country, doing these things, being on the charts, being in Billboard magazine, all these things. If it had happened to me in the past, before, just a few years ago, I don't know what, it wouldn't have been good. It wouldn't have been good. And I mean, I'm not saying I would be out there intentionally going to make it bad, but I just know it wouldn't have been good. Definitely needed to have people around me, a support system at home that kept me grounded. I definitely need children in my life to keep me focused on, outside of God, what the most important thing is, and not, I'm very ADD, as you all know and can tell. And I just tend to, it's always the next. That keeps me rooted and grounded. I mean, even to the extent that, and this isn't about being a dad, but the people we have in our band, we met them at church. They're all dads now. And it keeps us rooted in what's first. We're traveling on the road and we'll be jamming. I mean, we'll be in the middle of Kansas, just jamming, rocking out in the van, and all of a sudden, hey guys, hang on, mute. hi baby, whoever it is. It's like, it's everybody. And then everybody's like, I might as well call my kids. And then we'll spend 2 hours quiet on FaceTime with and then we'll come back and we're like, all right.
So
So
it back up.
it's yeah, I mean, it's they're always with us on the road because of that. And if it were any other way, I don't know that it would be a fulfilling life for this.
That's amazing. So you guys already kind of talked a little bit about your faith journey, but I want to ask a question. Truly, whenever you're writing music, you're playing music, you're touring, and all things that you do from a professional level, how much do you put God, or how much does God show up in your influences of your music?
Oh goodness.
Everywhere. I mean,
So where does God show up? How often? So first of all, I mean, we intentionally, when we are on stage, sometimes it has to be forced, and that's fine by us. We intentionally keep God front and center in what we're doing. We talk about faith in God multiple times every show, because without that, I mean, what are you? What do you have, right? As far as how he influences what we do, it's crazy because we'll sit down to write. We have a song called She Does. And it's this song about a guy who is messed up, doesn't ever define how he messed up. But Ben and I wrote this probably 2 years ago, and we're going to be recording it not too long from now. Guy messes up, and it starts out Wednesday morning at the old church, just here thinking about her on bended knees with folded hands. And it's this whole, quote, love story about this guy who messed up somehow, is now at church, and it turns into him talking to God saying, God, I've messed up with you too. I've used your name in vain far too many times, left your good book sitting on the shelf and then read it next to your pile. I've raised some hell and fanned its flames. I told some lies without shame. I got a lot to fix with you up above, but you'll be coming back before she ever does. And so we turned this heartbreak song about a woman into a song about God. And the whole concept of that song at the very end is the epiphany that he has of, and this is something we both had to get to in our lives. He has an epiphany at the end of the song where he goes, God, I'm coming back, even if she never does. And that's what the whole song's about. It's about
having that relationship, coming back to that relationship with God, because put your faith in that, not in over here.
And that's and everything with before every show, all of us we huddle. We talk about what he's done to get us there. We take a really serious moment before every show. But man, I'll tell you, like Ben said, he thinks he would be dead without God in my life. I don't know where I'd be, but it wouldn't be happy and it wouldn't be here. That's all I know. I wouldn't be a good dad. I wouldn't be a good partner.
It's amazing. Well, man, you guys have blown us away with this conversation. I mean, it's been really good. We're over here just like we're learning so much. There's nothing better. We've said it many times on our show that, or the podcast, that we learn so much from each other, and we've known each other for years, and we've known you guys for a long time too, from church and stuff, and we learned so much just in this one conversation. It's been awesome. And you guys have obviously a lot going on in your lives, especially in music and all the things coming on. You guys are hitting charts. I mean, it's been amazing. Got great songs. Anything you guys want to talk about coming up in the Boomtown Saints world? With plug anything? Tell us what's all going on.
Go ahead, Mr. Plugger.
All right. I don't know. I would never say that again.
We'll just leave that.
There's better ways of wording that, brother.
Leave that one right there.
So you need to go back to that.
Hey, better way, Mr. Plugger. Okay, so what we have going on? So we have All Trucks Go to Heaven. It's on the radio. It's number 29 in North America right now as of 2 days ago. Number 2 in Texas, which is awesome because we're not from Texas and they let us into their walls. It's insane. That's awesome. So that's out on the radio. You can stream that. We released a song yesterday. February, actually, I heard a buddy of mine, Tim Cody, actually said this to me yesterday. He's like, February is all about vibes. He said, you're not in the holidays where it's all about family and and love, but you're not the summer yet. February is about vibes. And so we released a song yesterday. Our label released it. It's called Dive Bar Heart. And all it is about a place that you go to when you're done being cool. Everybody knows your name and knows you for who you are. And that's where you're there. So we released that yesterday. But we also have a song called Blacktop Don't that's coming out at the end of March.
Yep.
That's going to be our next radio single. They think that's going to do some pretty good things this summer on the radio. So I would ask you to keep an eye out for that one, because that is we've been eagerly anticipating the release of that one for a year and a half. We have an EP coming out in April that's going to have 6 or 7 songs on it. That's going to be, we have a couple of things on there that's just, we've been writing with people that if you would have told us a year ago we'd be writing with these people. Keith and Adrian Falasay, they wrote Something Like That by Tim McGraw. They wrote I Love You by Martinez Bride. They've written Faith Hill's #1 albums. And
he's a friend of my dad.
What's that?
He's a friend of my dad's. I know him well. He's a great guy.
There you he's the most amazing. Hey, plug Keith and Adrian, some of the most amazing humans I've ever met.
They're awesome.
They don't need us in any way, and they treat us like we're family. It's awesome. They're great people. Anyway, to say we've been writing with people like that, and we have a couple of other songs coming out on this EP that we're really excited. So we're all over the place this summer. We're basically
going to Alaska.
Going to Alaska. Yeah.
Wow.
So one of the things we get to do is have a rider, and I'm trying to sneak in a fishing trip.
A rider, if those don't know, a rider is basically a list of things that you want for the show. And
I don't care about anything.
He's actively trying to get a fishing trip on our rider.
I want to go salmon fishing with a fly rod. It's a bucket list. I just want to go do it.
Yeah. That's something I try to get to.
I would.
So yeah, we're gonna be.
I'm not gonna get it. I'm sure they're just gonna be like, "Ha, it's funny."
He's not gonna get it. But we're gonna be on the road all summer, and so we're basically gonna be within a few hours of every major city in the country all summer. So people can find us out there. Our show, we've been told it's fun. So
what website or social media can we find you guys?
Boomtown Saints Music.
Outside of obviously hearing you on the radio, but how can people connect to you, right?
BoomtownSaintsMusic.com is our website. You can find us at Boomtown Saints on Instagram and at Boomtown Saints Band on Facebook. We're on other platforms as well, but that's where most of our updates come from.
And if you go to the website, please sign up on our mailing list. I mean, we want to get in touch with people as best we can.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
Well, guys, we're closing up this episode. Great conversation as always. Any last question you want to throw out there to the guys?
No, thanks so much, guys, for hanging out with us this afternoon.
Thanks for having us. This is really flattering, and we appreciate you guys more than you know.
Well, this has been a great conversation. Thank you guys for taking time out. Obviously, you just talked about how busy your schedules are. So fitting us in for a few minutes we are humbled by this. So thank you so much for this. And it's also great to see how God is using you in a platform that you guys have to, reach people. It's amazing. Yeah. So congratulations on the success. And we couldn't thank you enough for being here. And this concludes another great episode of Daddy Discussions with the 3Js. The 3Js here. I want to remind you that we have one purpose, and it's very simple. We just talk about loving our families. We love our families. We love our wives. We love our kids, and they drive us in everything that we do. And that's really what this whole podcast is about. And we obviously don't do everything the best. We have pitfalls, but we do the best we can. And we lean on each other and obviously our great guests here and learn from each other. And that's how we get better. If you like our podcast and want to listen to us more, hit up all the social media places, give us a 5-star rating on YouTube, give us a 5-star rating on all of our podcast sites, subscribe to it. And if you got any questions or ideas for future episodes, you can reach out to us at daddydiscussionspodcast@gmail.com. But other than that, guys, we thank you again for being here.
Yeah.
Love you guys as always and everything you guys do. And that'll close up this episode. So
thank you guys.
Thank y'all.